Now I'm going to turn to some good news, actually, believe it or not. Donald Trump and abortion. We know that the pro-life movement in the United States has been making progress for quite some time, and a lot of progress, actually. And the federal government in the US, under the Trump administration, has actually come a step closer to ending taxpayer funding for abortions. It was on Friday that Donald Trump said for decades American taxpayers have been wrongfully forced to subsidize the abortion industry. And I mean, well, let's face it, that's very weird to hear that from any government in the world. Very weird indeed. The Trump administration has introduced changes to a federal program which is called Title X, which gives funding to low-income Americans for family planning services. And one beneficiary of those Title X funds from the federal government was Planned Parenthood. Now, Planned Parenthood is America's largest provider of abortions. They do 332,000 abortions nationally every year, and they were also the subject of that explosive undercover investigation with all the videotapes produced by a guy called David Daleiden, which exposed the fact that they were illegally selling the body parts of aborted babies to the biotech industry, which was just shocking. And the fact that they even still exist is mind-bending and shows the stranglehold that the abortion industry has on the culture in the US and the West in general. But Planned Parenthood, under these changes, will be stripped of $60 million in federal funds. So that is truly fantastic news, and that's because Title X funds are no longer permitted for providers that refer for abortions or perform abortions anywhere on site. The March for Life president, Gene Mancini, said the following, and by the way, the March for Life is the largest human rights demonstration in the world, and if you haven't heard of it, just look it up online, watch the videos of just how massive that is in Washington, D.C. every year, campaigning for an end to abortion. But the president of the March for Life said, "Today, the Trump administration took an imperative first step in the right direction by preventing Title X funds from being misused by those who promote and profit from abortion. Abortion is not healthcare. Yet for decades, the federal government has voluntarily supported abortion by subsidizing the industry with hundreds of millions of tax dollars every year." So this is just a start. But the rules that permitted those Title X funds to go to abortion providers were actually introduced during Bill Clinton's presidency, and now that money will be redirected to women's health centres, including pro-life service providers. And you know, there's a lot of things I could say about the abortion issue, but something just fresh that I discovered the other day, which I might share, was from Isaiah chapter 28. Someone posted this on Facebook in response to the abortion issue more generally, and I picked it up, so I'm grateful to them. This guy was commenting on some of the madness that we're now seeing coming out of the US pro-abortion camp as they feel the pressure under the Trump administration, and indeed as they feel significant pressure from the advances of the pro-life movement. They've done a whole lot of pretty bad things. You take the hashtag Shout Your Abortion campaign, where they decided to normalise and destigmatise abortion by getting women who have had abortions to proudly and loudly proclaim the fact that they've aborted their child online, through social media and publicly. I mean, there was even a time there where a couple of videos came out of women undergoing abortions live and smiling and talking about it and just parading what they were doing. The Shout Your Abortion thing is very real and very sick. Or the protesters recently who acted out a brutal scene in broad daylight in New York City of Jesus being aborted as he was birthed from the Virgin Mary. It's just blasphemous and disgusting. Fake blood and all, just gross. Or the activists who this week claimed that abortions should be celebrated like baby showers. I could go on. It's sick. It's depraved. And this is getting louder and louder in the US, and perhaps under pressure, some of the truth that underlies the pro-choice movement is coming to the surface. And I've often wondered, just how dark the abortion issue is and the madness of it. The way babies are killed so readily, and the way that when you try and stop it, or when you raise the issue, the anger and the venom that it promotes, and the depth of feeling about this by those who say that you cannot say that it is wrong to kill a baby. I mean, just walk into a room in any political scene and mention abortion and watch the fireworks. It's incredible. But it is every bit as dark as we think it is, I reckon. Because in Isaiah 28:15 it says this. It says, "We've made a covenant with death. and with Sheol we have made a pact. Therefore, when the overflowing scourge passes through, it will not reach us when it passes by, for we have made falsehood our refuge, and we have concealed ourselves with deception. It's amazing, isn't it? The idea that people would make a covenant, would draw alongside with, and commit themselves to death itself, and would hide behind the lie and the deception that it's a good thing and they will not be judged for it. There it is in Scripture all along. It's a timeless phenomenon. It is what people do when we as a society go astray. Dark times indeed. And I would really love to see real progress made on the pro-life issue in Australia. I see the goals that are being kicked in the US at the moment, and my goodness, it's a long and brutal and difficult fight that they've got. They've been going for years, but you see progress, bit by bit, tiny bit at a time, and you think, wow, I just wish we could have some of that progress here. In fact, we've gone backwards in recent years. And I think it's possible. I think as we build the movement, and I think as we get more and more people rallying around these important issues, as we learn to be more activist-minded in our political landscape, as others who oppose good moral values have done for years, I just think that we've got the numbers, we've got the base, and we've got the opportunity, by God's grace, to make progress on this. Something I'd really like to commit to in the next few years.